Imagine a young woman, ambitious and eager for a life of luxury, choosing to marry a man 50 years her senior. Her motive? To inherit his millions. She had heard stories of people inheriting fortunes and living lives of ease, and this path seemed like her shortcut. She wasn't looking for love or companionship. Instead, she saw this man as a means to an end, a ticket to the wealth and privilege she always dreamed of. But what happened next was something she never anticipated, something that would transform her life forever. This is the story of Linda, a 27-year-old with big dreams and even bigger aspirations. Linda had grown up in a modest neighborhood and had watched as her friends achieved wealth and status. She wanted to break free from the life she had known, to rise above it all and live a life of opulence. One day, while working at a high-end event, she met Charles, a wealthy businessman who, despite his age of 78, was charming, sharp, and well-spoken. Charles had amassed a fortune over his lifetime, and his reputation as a successful entrepreneur was known to many. To Linda, he seemed like the solution to her problems. Charles, although older, enjoyed her company and appreciated her youthful energy. Linda noticed his fondness for her and quickly realized the opportunity in front of her. She saw this relationship as a way to secure a life without financial struggle, a life filled with luxury, travel, and all the things she had only dreamed of. The prospect of marrying him was, in her mind, the gateway to living like a millionaire. After dating Charles for a few months, Linda hinted at marriage, carefully masking her intentions behind a veil of affection. Charles, lonely and appreciative of her attention, began to consider it seriously. He thought Linda was sincere and believed her affections were genuine, though his friends and family were skeptical. They worried that Linda's intentions might not be as pure as they seemed, but Charles brushed their concerns aside, insisting he knew her heart. The wedding was simple but elegant, a small ceremony with a few friends and family members. Linda dressed beautifully, and Charles looked genuinely happy. To outsiders, it seemed like an unusual match, but they chalked it up to love's mysterious ways. But behind Linda's smiles and charm was a strategic mind, already imagining what she would do with the inheritance once it became hers. She envisioned herself living in Charles's mansion, traveling in his private jet, and indulging in all the luxuries money could buy. At first, Linda played the part of a devoted wife, taking care of Charles, accompanying him to events, and making sure he was happy. She managed to convince him that her love was real, and Charles was delighted with his young, vibrant partner. But as time went on, Linda grew impatient. She began to wonder how long she would have to wait until she could finally enjoy his wealth without pretending anymore. She thought about how her life would be once she was no longer tied down and could truly live the life of her dreams. One day, Charles surprised Linda with something that caught her off guard. He invited her to his office, where he handed her a sealed letter. He explained that he had something important to share with her about his finances, but he wanted her to read the letter in private. Linda's mind immediately raced to the thought of inheritance and wills. She was sure this was the moment she had been waiting for, the confirmation that she was the primary heir to his fortune. When she returned to their mansion, she opened the letter eagerly, her hands trembling with anticipation. However, as she read the contents, her expression turned from excitement to disbelief, then confusion. The letter was not what she had expected at all. In it, Charles had revealed his plans for his wealth, but not in the way she had hoped. He had decided to donate the majority of his fortune to various charities and set up trusts for his grandchildren. The letter explained that he believed in using his wealth to help others and that he wanted his legacy to make a difference in the world. Linda couldn't believe her eyes. This was not part of the plan. All the time and effort she had invested, the careful planning and patience, it was all slipping through her fingers. According to the letter, she would receive a modest sum, enough to live comfortably but nowhere near the lavish life she had dreamed of. Charles had also expressed in the letter that he hoped she would continue to stand by him, sharing a life built on companionship and mutual respect rather than material wealth. Linda felt a mix of anger and despair. She had expected a fortune and had counted on inheriting millions, but now her dreams were dashed. She considered her options. She thought about confronting Charles, but she knew it would likely lead to the end of their relationship. She realized she had a choice to make. She could either walk away and lose everything or stay and adjust her expectations. As she wrestled with her emotions, something unexpected began to happen. Linda started to see Charles in a new light. She realized that despite her initial intentions, she had come to care for him. Charles's generosity, his kindness, and his humility began to touch her heart. She remembered all the times he had spoken about giving back, about the joy he found in helping others. Slowly, Linda began to understand the values that Charles held dear, values she had initially dismissed in her pursuit of wealth. With time, Linda's perspective shifted. She began to embrace a simpler lifestyle, finding joy in the small moments and appreciating the time she spent with Charles. She no longer viewed him as a means to an end but as someone who had enriched her life in ways she had never anticipated. She found herself growing as a person, learning from his wisdom and adopting his outlook on life. For the first time, Linda felt a sense of purpose that went beyond material wealth. Charles, noticing the change in Linda, was deeply moved. He saw her transformation and appreciated the sincerity that began to show in her actions. Together, they started engaging in charitable activities, volunteering, and working on projects that helped their community. Linda found a new passion in helping others and discovered that giving back brought her a sense of fulfillment she had never felt before. Years passed, and Linda no longer thought about the inheritance she once desired so desperately. Instead, she found herself grateful for the journey she had taken with Charles, a journey that had led her to a life of meaning and purpose. She had learned that true wealth was not measured by money or possessions but by the love and impact one could have on others. When Charles eventually passed away, Linda was heartbroken, not because she was losing a source of wealth, but because she was losing a dear friend and partner. In his final moments, he had told her how proud he was of her transformation, how grateful he was to have shared his life with her. Linda realized that, despite how their relationship had started, they had developed a deep bond, a love that was more genuine than anything she had ever known. After Charles's passing, Linda dedicated herself to carrying on his legacy. She became an advocate for the charitable causes he had supported and poured her energy into helping others. She continued to live a modest life, one that was focused on giving back rather than accumulating wealth. Linda's life took on a new meaning, and she became known for her philanthropic efforts, her compassion, and her dedication to improving the lives of those in need. Her journey had come full circle from a young woman chasing fortune to a person who understood the true value of kindness and selflessness. Looking back, Linda often marveled at the unexpected twists her life had taken. She had started with a plan to secure a life of luxury through marriage, but in the end, she had found something far more precious. She had found a purpose, a sense of belonging, and a love that transcended wealth. In losing her original dream, she had discovered something far greater: the fulfillment of living a life with integrity, compassion, and love. And that, in the end, was her true inheritance.